So, welcome to today's video. Before we start with a new pigment family, I wanted to do some special pigment videos, and this is because of Schminke's Cochineal Red limited edition, which is part of their retro limited edition series. And this is the reason why I thought, okay, we will do now a video about this color and this pigment as part of our pigment and color family series. And I will do also a video about another color, which you probably all know as well, in the next week, which contains this pigment as well. So hope you enjoy this video and hopeful you get a lot of new information because I did a lot of research for this and the other color. And yeah, I would say let's start. For start, before we are going to swatch our colors, I will show you the Carmine or Crimson Lake versions from other brands which I don't own but have the dot card of. So I thought at least I can show you the swatches from the dot card for those companies. Better than to to include them that way, I thought. There are a few brands I have dot cards from, so we will be looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think 6 different dot cards for that. Like I wrote here on the paper, we are talking about Carmine Genuine, also known as Cochineal Red. But I made a mistake here with the writing because the Cochineal, like it's written here, is the German version. So just that you know. Today also often referred to as Carmine or as Crimson Lake for all of the hues. They don't put the hue today in those colors, so you only will find Carmine or a Crimson Lake. You won't find a Carmine hue or Crimson Lake hue, and that is always done when the original pigment isn't used anymore in the colors, and all the brands only offer some kind of hue. Then it's the same with indigo or sepia, for example. Okay, so the first one here is Schminke Horadam Permanent Carmine, and it's a PV19 version, and that is probably the pigment we will see the most. A lot of brands use quinacridone rose as a substitute. This is a company from Belgium, name is Blocks. They have this dot card with the long stripes, and they printed it already on, so I've swatched it on some watercolor paper and I will show you, because I think the printed versions are not that accurate to refer to. It totally destroys the reason for having a dot card, in my opinion. So that's the swatch for that color. The white spots are because it was glued to some of the dots because I kept it inside and it ripped some part of the paper off. So that's the reason why. So then we have Van Gogh, and their Carmine version is made from PR 176, which is Perilene Maroon. This is a pigment which you can buy in a dark red version like this one, or in a brownish version. That's the pigment, for example, Winsor Newton uses now to substitute the PR 206 browns and reds. So then there was something a bit confusing, because I have a pan of Rembrandt and I have the Rembrandt dot card, and the pigment numbers don't match each other. The one on the dot card is PR 264 single pigment color, and the pan I have is a mix of that pigment with PV19. So I'm not quite sure which of those versions is the actual version which is used now. I can't really say, because I didn't look that up. I totally forgot to look that up. I'm sorry. But just so you know that there are two different versions depending on how old your paints are. You will have one or the other. Then this one here is the Carmine quinacridone from Da Vinci paints. I have the dot card of them, and that are my swatches. So they also have a PV19 version. And then we will, as a last dot card, we will look at the Daniel Smith dot card. And they use the same pigment than Van Gogh uses, the Perylene Maroon PR 176. Sorry, that is their Carmine. So then we will start with our swatches. This is only the first page. We will do a second page of swatches afterwards, but I thought I don't want the swatches to be super small. That's why I decided to put it on two sheets of watercolor paper. We will be starting with our modern versions here, and we will do the swatch of the genuine Carmine when we have done all the swatches on this side. Because I'm super surprised how the real version will look like, because I haven't swatched it before I've done this video. It was really hard to resist, but I did resist. I thought, no, I want to do the swatch for my very first time with you in this video. So we're starting with the Rembrandt version. Like I said, I have the version which contains PV19 and PR 264. It is a very, very beautiful darkish red, and I would buy it again for having a red like that. But when I compare it now to the real deal on my dried paper, then it isn't very close. The hue of the red is completely different. So a beautiful color, but not very close to the real deal, in my opinion. So I try to give you some more information in between the swatches about the pigment, its history, how it's produced, and where does it come from, and all that stuff. So hope I don't overwhelm you with that lot of information, because I've written down 3 A4 papers on information. So the pigment number is NR4. N always stands for the natural pigments made from plants or animals. And most of them, sadly, aren't very light fast. That is something a lot of those natural pigments have in common. For example, indigo, the real genuine indigo, or the real genuine sepia, or the real NR8, I think, is Van Dyke brown, the original pigment. They are all not light fast, sadly. So that's also the reason why most of these pigments are not used today in art, because we have other pigments which look very, very similar to the real deal, and which are light fast. So that is the reason why lots of those colors you can't buy easily. You either have to buy it from someone who makes makes the paints him or herself. Some craft people, or you have to be lucky to get a limited edition from a company like Schminke has done now with this color, because from all the big major brands which are producing colors in big batches industrially, I don't talk about all the hand artisans making watercolor paints, but the big companies like Daniel Smith, Schminke, and so on, they don't use those pigments anymore. Like I said, expectation from that rule is some special limited edition like this one. So the one I've swatched just now is from Sennelier. It's a French company, and they have a PV19 version here, so it's quinacridone rose. Like I said, we will see that a lot. It is a beautiful color, but it is way too fair. Doesn't get very dark. It's more on the rose side, and not, you don't get this dark red with that color. So beautiful color, but from my personal judgment here, not close enough. And I have a lot of PV19 versions because, of course, it's one of the most magenta used pigments. And I must say, this version, it is beautiful, but it doesn't get very dark. And if I would have to choose a PV19 version, then I would definitely choose a one which will get really dark, so I have all the possibilities. I have it because it is in a set, in a pan set, but I probably wouldn't buy a tube of it. So the next color here is from Shinhan PWC. That's the highest artist range they have. And it's a Korean brand, and they call it Carmine. And their choice I absolutely don't understand, because they're using a PR83. And PR83 is alizarin crimson, the genuine one. Funny thing that this is not an N number, because it is made from a plant, from the roots of a plant. And it is absolutely non-light fast. It's all like the genuine Carmine. So why replacing a non-light fast pigment with another non-light fast pigment? I don't understand. But of course, it could be that to get this pigment is very easy, and the Carmine one probably is not that easy. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe the reason is that the Carmine pigment is more expensive than the other one. That could be the reason as well. So not quite sure about it, but that are my guesses. It is a beautiful color. I love the original alizarin crimson. I have a tube from Daniel Smith, which I love, because none of the hues can get exact the same shade as this one, as the real deal. But like I said, sadly, it is non-light fast. So that is something to be aware of. That are always, you don't have to work only with light fast pigments. I have a lot of non-light fast pigments, and I use them in, for example, sketchbook works, in adult coloring, or pieces where I know I will put it in a map and not hang it up a wall or gift it to someone or sell it. So it is not a problem per se. It totally is, you have to look what are you doing with your paints. If you're only painting in sketchbooks, for example, you don't have the need for only light fast pigments. If you are painting work and selling the work, then I highly recommend not to use some of those super non-light fast pigment, and only work with pigments which have a light fastness from 1, excellent, or 2, good, because then you have, under museum conditions, at least 50 to up to 50 years for the good and up to 100 years for the excellent. Because when I think about buying an artwork from an artist, which doesn't write anywhere that it is made from non-light fast pigments, and I would buy a piece, let's say for $300. I hang it up in my wall, on my wall, because it's so beautiful, and that's the reason I bought it. And then half a year later, 50% of the painting is blank white. I would be very, very angered about that fact, and that is the reason which you always have to be aware of. If you're selling your work, the original work, it has to be with a good light fastness rating, or you will have to mark it as non-light fast, so that the people know, okay, I need maybe a special UV protected frame for it or something like that, so that they know it before. Okay, totally lost myself here. The color I swatched just now is not a Carmine, it's a Crimson Lake from Holbein. It's a Japanese brand, and this is a 3-pigment mix. The color itself is super beautiful, and it is, I would say, at least a little bit close to the imagination of the Crimson Lake pigment, not pigment, color, because Crimson Lake is described as a more a dark red with a dull violet undertone. But the problem here is also the pigments used. We have 2 light fast pigments, the PR122, which is a quinacridone pink. We have the PV19, but we also have the PR177, which is a non-light fast pigment. This one will definitely fade, so this is something to be aware of. The PR177 is always rated as perfectly in light fastness in all brands, even in Daniel Smith, for example. They use it as their permanent alizarin crimson. But it is not light fast, it will completely fade, so just to be aware of. So the version I swatched just now is from Core. They call it Crimson, no, damn it, Quinacridone Crimson. So the problem here is it contains the PR122, so the Quin Pink, that's okay, but it also contains the PR206, and that's Quinacridone Maroon. Sadly, this pigment is being discontinued, so they don't produce, the pigment industry don't produce this pigment anymore. So you either have to be really lucky to get one of those tubes. I don't know if they replaced the PR206 with maybe another pigment and the color looks the same, or if they discontinued it completely, I don't know. But in this version, you will have to be very lucky to get it. The PR206 is a pigment which has a brown version and a red version. You can still get the red version if you are very lucky with a super old tube or pan from Winsor Newton. Their permanent alizarin crimson was made of this, but they changed production nearly immediately when I heard the pigment is being discontinued. So they're using now PR176 Perylene Maroon, which is super, super similar. But you still can get a tube of the red shade from the Kiao Mei Paul Rubens watercolors. They offer it as pen and tube version, the set, and their alizarin crimson there is also made from the red shade. So that is definitely a possibility to still get this discontinued pigment. So you could take your own Quin Pink and mix it with a red shade and could get a shade like this. Because this one and the one below, those two are by far the most similar to the real deal. So this is definitely something if you want a super light fast version of a Carmine like the real deal looks, then this version is definitely one you could mix yourself if you have the red shade of the PR 206, sorry. So the next one here is from Mijello. That's a Korean brand again. It's from their Mission Gold. It's their artist grade line. They call it Quinacridone Crimson Lake. It's a PR 202, so that's also a quin magenta color. And this is more on the violetish side. So I guess that could be like the real Crimson Lake. Could be in this direction. I'm not sure because I don't have original NR4 Crimson Lake, and I didn't find any images in the internet. So if you have any more information about that, please let me know. But at least it tends to the thing I imagine myself when I hear it should be a violetish dark red. So that's also a light fast pigment, so that's a plus for Mijello. The next color is from the Indian company Camlin, and their Camel series is their artist grade line. This is called Crimson Lake. They don't offer any pigment information, so I have no clue what pigment is in them. And I found a blog from an Indian artist which has done a light fastness test, and sadly most of the companies colors are not very light fast, and all of the reds completely loses their colors. So that's the reason why I use it, for example, for sketchbooks or for adult coloring and stuff like that. From the quality how they behave, they are really, really very good paints, but like I said, a lot of those pigments are not light fast. I think the earth tones and the ivory black and the phthalo green and the ultramarine blue, which I have, those are at least light fast, but yeah, a lot of the yellows and oranges and reds and pinks and purples are not. It is a very beautiful color and I like to use it a lot, but it has absolutely nothing to do with the real deal. It's very similar to the Sennelier Carmine one. And yeah, like I said, Crimson Lake is described as a violetish dark red, and this is more of a rose color. So yeah, far away from anything similar. I don't know if I mentioned it in the beginning. I have a really bad cold, so if I sound a little bit strange, I'm really, really sorry about that. So the next color here is from My Mary. That's an Italian brand, and this is called Quin Lake or Quinacridone Lake, and it's a PV19, but in the violetish hue. So I think it is similar to the Mijello Crimson Lake color. It's also very violetishy and probably, yeah, tends to the color I imagine myself when I read the description of a violetish red more than, for example, the camel one. Those are all artist grade brands on this side. I will have on the second side, I will also have student grade colors as well. And also Kuretake, not Kuretake, I mean Gansai Tambi paints from different brands, not only from Kuretake. So the next color is from Winsor & Newton Professional. They call it Carmine, and the pigment is quinacridone pyrrolidone. And I didn't found any number for this one. It is a quinacridone pigment. It is said to be light fast. And next to the core version, this version is the closest in. So these two, the core and the Winsor Newton one, are the closest to the original. So if you ask me which color I would recommend if you want a genuine carmine color, but in a light fast version, then I would say go for that one. That is definitely the easiest to get because of the core uses this discontinued pigment. Of course, it's an old tube, so there's that. But for accessibility, because Winsor Newton Professional is, or at least Winsor Newton in general, is super accessible everywhere in the world. So that is a very big plus. And like I said, it is this one and the core version are the closest in hue. So that would be the one I would buy again. I don't know if my tube is a small one or a big one, but I think it's one of those 14 milliliters probably. So yeah, if I will ever run out of it, I would definitely buy this one again. So I said I wanted to include some more information about the color. So like I said, it is NR4, but it is also, at least in the European Union, in the food industry, marked as E120. Yeah, so the pigment is made from cochineal. That's an scale insect in the suborder of Sternhorhyncha. Oh, I'm so sorry. I will butcher this one for sure. That's the Latin name is Dactylopius coccus. And I've seen a very good short video about a woman producing the pigment. I will include that one in the description box below. It's a like 10 minutes video. So if you're interested in more history and stuff, then you could watch this one as well. And she always said, it's not lice, it's bugs. But the funny thing is, in German, it is still called lice, or the German word Laus. So I'm not quite sure about that, but yeah, she insisted on it being bugs. The insect lives on cacti in the genus of the Opuntia, which are one of the biggest groups under cacti, with around 190 different species. And they're feeding on the plant moisture and nutrients. And the color comes only from the females. The females are very big in comparison to the males. And the funny thing is that the males, they can walk and go wherever they want, but the females, they only walk and move for a short period, searching for an ideal place, and then they are locked to the cacti and don't move for the rest of their life. They have an art. Damn it, I wrote it down somewhere. Like, oh, I'm sorry for the noise maybe in the background. They are starting with the fireworks already. It's I recorded in this of the on the last day of this year, and we still have a lot of hours to midnight. But yeah, I think that's they're doing that everywhere in the world, doing fireworks way before the time is right for that. Okay, so sorry. I will have to look for a translation that I can say this right. But the color I swatched just now is the is the one from White Nights, and I will swatch a second version from White Nights here. And the reason why I have two different ones is I have a super, super old set, which contains the old version, which is made from PR 170 column 1, which is a very non-light fast pigment. And I think that's the reason they changed it to a PV19, because this is a light fast pigment. And so depending on if you already have a set of White Nights colors, you have either the very old one, if your set is really old, or you have a PV19 version. When you are buying now a new pan or a tube, then definitely you will get the PV19 version. So the word I was missing is proboscis. The females lock themselves on the cactus with their proboscis, and yeah, they're feeding, and when they're laying their eggs, they have the eggs under their belly, and they are completely moveless on this cacti, and that is why it is so easy to harvest them, because they don't move, they don't fly away. And when the eggs are hatching, the female dies. So I think I have somewhere written it down. They have a life expectancy from around 2 to 3 months or so. We'll probably come to it later. But yeah, that's for that. So the last one we will be swatching now is the one from Rosa Gallery. That's a Ukrainian brand, and they use the PR 170 column 1 as well, like White Nights did in their old version. And that will be the last swatch for that page. On the second page, we will also have some Gansai Tambi paints and also some student grade paints. Those on this first side are all artist grade. So while I'm doing the swatch, I have of course some more information. This pigment is used in paints as well as in drinks and foods, also in cosmetics, and it was also used for as a dye for fabrics, especially all the native cultures like Mayans, Aztecs, and the Incas. And when the pigment first come to Europe, a lot of the Catholic clerics, like bishops and things like that, used it for a dye as well. The production of cochineal is described in a very old book called Codex Osuna, and the book is from 1565. So now we will be swatching the Schminke Cochineal Red. I was super excited to swatch this and to see how Carmine really does look like in the genuine version. The production of the pigment decreased a lot after the invention of synthetic dyes and pigments around in the late 19th century. But in recent years, it's starting to increase again, because a lot of people have fear of artificial food colorings, and that increased the production and the popularity of natural pigments like the carmine again. Today, Peru is the largest producer, and that is followed by Mexico, Chile, and Argentina. And then, and that surprised me a lot, the last one on the list are the Canary Islands, which are western to Africa, but are part of Spain. So it's part of the EU as well. Didn't know that they do product this pigment at all. So that was super surprising for me. The color is known under a lot of different names like Carmine, Carmine Lake, Crimson Lake, Crimson, Cochineal Red, or also Cochineal Extract. The name Carmine in the English word is derived from the French word Carmine. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm sorry. Never learned French because my parents didn't allow me to to choose French in school, which is from around the 12th century, which also originated from medieval Latin named Carminium, which, as far as I understand it, comes originally from a Persian word with the name kirmis. I absolutely not know how to pronounce it, so everyone speaking Farsi, I'm really sorry. If you know how to pronounce it correctly, let me know. And this word also derived from a Middle Persian word named Karmir. So that's at least what I found out. The name Carmine has been used as a color name since the early 1799. That's what I found. Isn't that the color beautiful? I totally can understand why it was so popular about centuries. It's a super, super beautiful, dark, cool red. Really, really stunning color. And it can get very dark, and that is what one of the reasons why it was so um, successful over so long time, because really dark reds are super rare, and if you're having a super vibrant glowing red like that and the possibility to get it dark, I think that was something super, super unique. So sorry about my cold. Cochineal insects were used for coloring since around 700 BC. It was extensively used in, like I said, Mayan, Aztec, and Inca civilizations, especially as a dye for textiles. And it was imported to Europe since the 16th century. As red is a color which was often associated with power and social status. Through the century, this red has been worn by tribal chiefs, kings and queens, military officers. For example, the British Army around the Independence War in the US. The uniforms were also colored in cochineal red. And yeah, clerics, as I said, especially in the Catholic Church, when you're looking at the higher ranks, like the bishops, they often have this very vibrant red clothing, and that was originally also colored with cochineal to show everyone that they are not only very mighty and have a high rank position, but also that the church as an institution has a lot of wealth and power as well. And I think I once saw a documentary that the shoes from the Pope are red, and I think were originally also dyed with this dye, and I think it's still today that he wears a pair of those shoes only for one day, and then he will get a completely new pair for the next day. Very, very, damn it, I'm missing the word again. Excessively? I'll have to look it up. Wasteful, sorry. Sometimes I'm missing the words. Very wasteful, I think nowadays, especially when you see how many people are dying because of hunger and things like that. So if they're still doing that today, I don't think that's a good thing to waste so much money on it. Okay, so the first color here is from a Russian brand called Vista Artista, and it's called Carmine, and it's also made from PR 170 column 1, like the old version of White Nights and the Rosa Gallery version, but the color looks completely different. It's more like a scarlet color. It's a very bright, warm red, so it doesn't look anything close to our genuine Carmine. Sorry, I will have to drink something in between. So a beautiful color, but definitely not a Carmine. This brand I've just discovered with another brand called Malevich this summer. Saw them on a shop in Germany, online shop, and they had it on sale. And the pants, they're not, the Malevich ones are full pants, and the one from Vista Artista are a little bit slimmer, a little bit higher as well. And they are super, super cheap. I've bought them for, I think, around 85 cents and per pan. And what me surprised really was that the Vista Artista ones, they were a little bit more expensive than the Malevich ones. And the Vista Artista had I've bought the cobalt blue because I was curious, and there was a genuine PB28 cobalt blue, so that was really surprised me for that price. That's why I thought I really have to buy some more, and then I will do some detailed videos about those brands as well. So the one I swatched just now is from Schminke Academy. That's their student grade range. It's a PV19 version, and I've used my newer Schminke Academy colors because that are the ones you could buy today. For those of you who haven't seen my comparison video about my 28 years old Schminke Academy set versus a new ones, I will put a link in the description because definitely the colors and the quality changed a lot over time. My old ones are more like Horadam 2.0 than the Academy versions today, so it was really, really surprising for me. But the color here, the Carmine color, is very beautiful, but it doesn't get darker than what I've swatched here. So being you can clearly see that being student grade, they haven't don't have a super high pigment load on this one, so can't get it darker. It is a beautiful color, but of course, in comparison to the real genuine Carmine, it is too fair. So yeah, I have some of the pans because I don't know if you know this, but Schminke Academy has super, super beautiful special tints. They release every few years a new version, and they're really, really beautiful. I will have to do a video about those as well because I've collected them, and happily for me, in Germany there are oftentimes you can get in for 50% off, so it isn't that expensive. So the reason why I'm swatching here now completely not in order is I found some of the Carmines while I was searching through my sets, which I didn't had on my mental list, and that's the reason why the Paul Rubens versions are all over the place on this page. The first two colors I will be swatching is from their Mei Liang line. That's one of their student grade ranges. And the first color here was, the name is Crimson Lake. And I don't have any pigment information for those. I know nowadays the Mei Liang sets come with pigment information, but I've read the color names from the newer versions and from my old versions, and they don't completely fit together. I didn't found those colors in the new 36 set names list, so either they've just completely swatched it or they just renamed it somewhere differently. I'm not quite sure about that. But nowadays you get pigment information. But for my very, very old set, I don't have it. But you can find a very good light fastening test on Kimberly Crick's blog and YouTube site on this original 36 color set, and the Crimson Lake was not very light fast. It faded a lot. The Crimson Lake Deep I'm swatching just now was a lot better. So if you have, like me, a very old set, there you could definitely check which of the colors are light fast and which not. I think around, when I remember it correctly, around 9 colors of the 36 are absolutely non-light fast. Some are mediocre in their light fastness, so they fade a little bit, but not so much. And surprisingly, they have a lot of very light fast pigments. So that is the reason, because this original 36 color set is around 17 euros or dollars. It is very, very cheap. So it is a very, very great way to start with the good quality watercolors if you are on a budget, or if you say you want to have uh, cheaper watercolor for doing some a kind of training, when you're saying, okay, I want to train some techniques better and don't want to waste my expensive colors, then that is one of my highest recommendation for cheaper colors. Those and the Rosa Gallery Artist Grade range are very, very cheap. I will do videos for them as well because I really, really love them. So, you have seen shortly this bright blue box, and you get another range of student grade paints from Paul Rubens. The set is always the tube sets, so the cardboard boxes from the tube sets or all the metal tins from the pan sets are always in this blue color. And the line's name is Coraline. You don't find the Coraline name very often. And really don't know what is the difference between the Mei Liang and Coraline colors, because they're both labeled as student grade. And I don't know why they have two different versions of student grade, but they're both great colors. So the color I swatched now was called Carmine Red. I don't have pigment information on my pan set from the Coraline range. I have a tube set from them with, I don't think they offered pigment information there as well. But the Carmine Red, funnily, was not in the tube set. It was only on the pan set, at least in my versions. But they are old as well, so I don't know if you would buy a new one, how it is today. So the last one I'm swatching here is from the artist grade range. It's called Carmine. It's a PV19. And I think it's a pretty good version because it can get really, really dark. So it comes very close in hue. And that's surprising because a lot of the other PV19 versions are too much pinkish and don't get very, very dark, but this one is really, really doing great, I think. It's very close. And this pen I have from is from their Gem series with these um, green metallic shiny tin. So I don't know if because they have so many different lines in their artist and student grade ranges, I don't know if they're all the same or if they're just changed over time sometimes. But this set is, I think, around a year old. I think I've bought it somewhere early 2023 when it was on super sale. I had a tin. I wanted a tin for so long, and then it was like 50% off on Easter or something. And then I thought, okay, it's now or never. So this color now is called Carmine as well, and it is from Sonnet. That's the student grade range from the brand from the company Nevskaya Palitra, which also makes the White Nights colors and also makes the Yarka watercolors. But I've seen a lot of US YouTuber using Yarka paints. Here in Germany, you don't get those. You only get the Sonnet and the White Nights ones, so that's why I don't have them. They don't ever offer any pigment information from their Sonnet colors. And so I can't say for sure what it is in there, but being student grade, it is probably something like the PR 170. I don't think this color here will be light fast, so that's the reason why I only use the set in sketchbook works. Then I have here from the Rosa Studio, that's from Rosa, who also make Rosa Gallery, the student grade range. It's also called Carmine. They offer the pigment information. So this is made from PR 57 column 1. Don't know the pigment, but most of the pigments in the red range from the 40s to the 60s are non-light fast, at least all that I know. And most of the times they're used in student grade ranges or in cheaper brands. And like I said, they are not light fast. If you are interested in the Rosa Studio set, which is very awesome, you can get it on sale here in Germany for 15 euros for 24 full pans. That is super cheap. I have a complete review video about this set. I will link it down in the description box. If you haven't seen it already, you can check it out if you are interested. The colors themselves are super awesome in this set, I must say. Sadly, in the reds and yellow range, the colors aren't light fast. So that is something to be aware of, but it is also an absolute great and very cheap set for doing sketchbook works or doing some watercolor trainings like the Paul Rubens set, for example, but with the Paul Rubens Mei Liang set having a lot of light, fast pigments, it is definitely, if you are on a budget and say you can only only have the money to buy one set, then I would go for the Paul Rubens one. So this one is called Talents Creation. The color is called Carmine. We don't have any pigment information here. And that is the cheapest range from Royal Talents, which also makes the Van Gogh and the Rembrandt watercolors. And they are super, super cheap. This especially color, I don't know if there was some binder separation and it is dull like that, or is it dull like that normally and fair? And it also is very shiny, but the other colors are completely different to that. You have maybe seen the ultramarine blue in my ultramarine blue video. These are super, super cheap. I've got the set with 24 tubes. I think they're around 10 milliliters for 10 euros in sale. So that's a great option if you really have a super, super tight budget or want something for your kids, for example. Of course, only if you say light fastness isn't important. That is something to be aware of because I think they use in their this range a lot of non-light fast pigments because of how cheap it is. But I didn't paint so far a complete painting with them, but I was very surprised when I swatched them how good they are for that less money. They are so super cheap. I didn't thought that they could be as good as they are, depending on of course in the price ranges with in comparison with other brands. They're really, really good. I have a lot of cheaper sets, and most of them are really, really trashy. And I wouldn't recommend to ever buy those one again. So this one here is from a Korean brand called Mungyo. They call it Crimson Lake. It's a PR 107, 70, sorry. So not light fast again, but I think that is the best version for a Crimson Lake in all the brands because that is exactly what I imagine a violetish or purplish dark red, like it is described. Of course, I don't have a genuine Crimson Lake version, so I can't say for sure if it's should be looking like that, but that is exactly how I imagine it. And I'm honestly with this version and the Vista Artista version of this pigment, I didn't know that the pigment is so possible to do so many different shades of red. I only knew it like the White Nights Carmine version in this pinkish magenta-ish tone. So I was very surprised about this one. The Mungyo brand also makes white labels for other brands. So if you are buying Art Philosophy, Prima Marketing, or Jane Davenport, the pen watercolor sets, they are all made from this company. And they use a lot of non-light fast pigments. The colors itself are really nice and you can they are nice to work with and so on. I have a lot of those as well. But being most of them not light fast, they are only for sketchbook work again. Or work where it doesn't matter if it is light fast or not. So this swatch just now also is known as Carmine. It's the pan number 9 and it is from Kisho. That's a Japanese brand and that are Gansai Tambi paints like the Kuretake one I will be swatching here now. That's the number 35 Kuretake Carmine. The Kisho ones are not as popular as the Kuretake ones. Here in Germany, they are a lot more expensive than the Kuretake ones, but you can buy both brands as a set or can buy the pants, can buy a single pants. So if you run out of a color, it is easy to replace it. For me personally, the Kisho ones are better in quality. They are more pigmented. They don't have this shine I have in a lot of the Kuretake ones, like here the Carmen as well. It gets very shiny if you get a lot of the pigment down. The Kisho ones, I didn't find any information about the pigments used here in the internet. So if you have any information about it, I would be very, very thankful for that information. Kuretake, my set is very old, around 15 years or so, when nobody knew the brand here in Germany. And when I've bought it, I only had Japanese written names and numbers I could at least read. And then later they revealed English names, and nowadays you can watch all the pigments on their website. So Kuretake uses PR48 column 2 and PR48 column 3. Both versions of these pigments aren't light fast, so that is definitely something to be aware of. I know Kuretake writes down on their homepage that all of their colors are light fast, but it really isn't. Again, you can look up Kimberly Crick's blog or YouTube channel. She did a 1-year light fastness test on those colors, and there you can see easily the colors which aren't light fast. So the last one I've swatched now is from Moss Art Komorebi, the Carmine color, and we don't have any pigment information here as well. So just checking here the original Carmine with all the other um, colors here, that you can see how good they do or how bad they are in comparison. Like I said, I think the PV19 version of Paul Rubens is very, very close in hue. So they did a very good job, in my opinion, with this. I will show you now a close-up from all the colors, where you can take a better look at them, and I will do some more information, giving you some more information which I have found in my research. The pigment was a major source of income for the Spanish crown, and the weight of the pigment was more valuable than, for example, sugar. And the Spanish crown had a monopoly on the European markets until the year 1820, when the French learned how to cultivate the um, the insects, and later, of course, German and British scientists created a chemical red dye that competed with carmine, and which was a lot cheaper and easier to produce. So that's when the production rate did go down dramatically. The pigment itself is produced from carminic acid, which is extracted from the female insects. To prepare carmine, the powder is boiled in ammonia or sodium carbonate solution. And after separating the insoluble materials, the extract is treated with alum. I'm sorry if I pronounce it wrong. To precipitate the red solid, and then is called Carmine Lake or Crimson Lake. The purity of the color is ensured by the absence of iron. Stannous chloride, citric acid, gelatin, or borax is added to modify the precipitation. And the traditional crimson color is affected not only by carminic acid, but also by the choice of its gelatining metal salt ions. For shades of purple, lime is added to the alum. And for 1 pound of dye, or 445 gram, you need around 70,000 insects. So for a kilogram, you need 140,000 insects. That's a lot. The color, sadly, is super fugitive, like I mentioned earlier. It is influenced by light, by humidity, and it can even be influenced by the color of the glass of a frame. So that is something I've never heard before. Probably some particles in the glass reacting in some way with the pigment. It is highly sensitive to light, so it will fade over time. And it can also change into a brownish tone. It is more stable in linseed oil than in gum arabic. So that is something to be aware of, that pigments are definitely affected by the binding agent you are using. So different binding agents can make a color more light fast or less light fast than other medias. When I talk about pigments, of course, as I work mainly with watercolors, I'm mostly referring to the watercolor version. But when you have a pigment which isn't light fast, it isn't light fast in every medium. It is just that in some mediums it is losing its color more or faster. But a light fast pigment will never be completely light fast in another binding agent. That is not possible. Painters who used NR4 are, for example, Jacopo Tintoretto, Vincent van Gogh, and J.M.W. Turner. It was also used in military cartography, at least since the 17th century, to represent fortification, ramparts, wood timbers, and brick buildings. It is or was used in histology. That I didn't found out if it is still used in histology or it just was used in the past. So if some of you are knowledgeable about histology today, then please let me know. It was also used as a medicine by the Aztecs. In helping to cure wounds when mixed with vinegar. And Aztecs also used it to clean their teeth. And that is something I found super surreal because it is a very staining color. And in my imagination, I don't know if they had completely red teeth because of it. That is something which I'm very, very curious about. So yeah, didn't found out, sadly. So as a in its use as food colorings, there are different regulation, of course, for different countries. In the USA, since 2006, in January, it must be listed as an ingredient always because it may cause allergic reactions and even can cause anaphylactic shocks. So it is mostly written down as cochineal extract or Carmine because the food industry were aggressively opposed to the FDA in their choice, which should be written down, because they wanted the food industry to write down that it is insect-based. And the food industry said, we can't do that. That is not very appetizing. If customers read that this product contains color which is insect based, they won't buy it. So that's the reason why they come to an agreement to write it down as cochineal extract or as carmine, because that sounds not as bad as insect based food coloring. So in the European Union, of course, there are different regulations. It is listed as cochineal, carminic acid, carmine, or NR4, or natural red 4, or mostly used as one of our E numbers. It's E120. It is only allowed in the EU for certain groups of food, and also it is regulated that you also only can use a specific amount per product. I think that is probably also due to the fact that as a food dye, it can cause a lot of allergic reactions, so that you don't put too much of the color in a product. I guess I'm not sure about that. That is only the information I found. NR4 is one of the oldest reds. It is fugitive, transparent, heavily staining, moderately dark valued to a moderately dull violet red, from scarlet red and carmine colors. And yeah, that are all the informations I found out. I hope that this video was interesting for you and that you maybe learned something new, maybe also helped to decide if you are interested or if it's worth buying this tube of watercolor in this limited edition from Schminke. If you wasn't sure so far, I hope it may have helped you. And yeah, I can only say thank you so much for watching this very long video. And as I'm filming this on the last day of the year and first day of the year in 2024, and I will be releasing it this week. So I wish you all a happy new year and hope you will have a lot of good health, luck, and love in your life. And if you would leave a follow or a thumbs up, that really helps my channel out very much. And every like, comment, and follow is very, very appreciated by myself. So, hope to see you soon in one of my other videos. Next video, we will take a look at a very special and very popular color, which is also related to our Carmine Genuine. And after this video, in 3 weeks, we will start with our next pigment family, and I can reveal it will be the manganese color family. So there we will probably see a lot of very unusual pigments, maybe some you never heard of. So yeah, hope you will take a look at those as well. Bye bye.